following is a feature presentation of the Replay Sports Channel, the home for great games.
Welcome to WFL Inside Access. I'm your host, Glenn Walker. This episode is brought to you by Royal Retros, your ultimate one-stop shop representing the teams of the past. Head over to Royal Retros today and use the discount code REPLAY to receive 10% off your purchase. The link will be provided in the show description. Week 3 of the 2025 season includes 5 games where both teams sit at 1-1. 4 teams, Pittsburgh, Los Angeles, Detroit, and Cleveland, sit at 0-2 and are looking to turn their seasons around. And the highlight of the week is a battle of 2 undefeated teams, Chicago and Arizona, and a late afternoon showdown in the desert. The Inside Access crew gives you all the information you need to know heading into Week 3.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Okay, Week 3 of the WFL season is here. And, wow. If the first 2 weeks were just appetizers, this looks like the main course.
Definitely.
We've got these massive matchups, undefeated teams squaring off, and some pretty desperate teams just trying to avoid falling into that 0-3 hole. Nobody wants that.
No, that's a deep hole early on.
So our mission today, like always, is pretty straightforward. We've sifted through all the Week 3 previews, the articles, the analyses, all that source material.
Mm-hmm.
And we're pulling out the stuff you really need, cutting straight to, the surprising stats, the key position battles, basically giving you the shortcut to being totally clued in for the weekend.
And looking across all those previews, there's this really strong theme emerging for Week 3. It's about physicality, pure execution.
Okay.
It feels less about just raw talent this week and maybe more about who can survive, in the trenches, the sources. They keep pointing to the teams that dominate the line of scrimmage.
Right.
But maybe even more importantly, the teams that just don't beat themselves, minimizing those mental errors. Turnovers, those drive-killing penalties, the missed kicks. Discipline is looking like the superpower this week.
That's interesting. So not necessarily the flashiest team, but maybe the most careful, the most disciplined.
Exactly. That seems to be the thread connecting the analysis.
All right, well, let's dive right into that trench warfare idea then, because our first game, it's a perfect example. Philadelphia at Tampa Bay. Both teams are 1-1. Now, for Philly, Derek Carr, he was steady last week, managed the game okay. But the stat that just jumps off the page in the previews, it's Tampa's defense. Last week alone, an unbelievable 8 sacks.
8, yeah.
And they held the QB to just 276 total yards.
Yeah.
That front 7 is, it's deep, it's fast, it's aggressive. If you're Philly, that pressure has got to be keeping you up at night.
Absolutely. It should be. Look, Carr's production numbers are almost secondary to just, can he stay upright?
Right.
And Philly's own defensive issues kind of feed into this, too. They gave up 23 first downs last week, let the other team just grind the clock.
Hard to win like that.
It is. So if Carr has to drop back, say, 35, maybe 40 times against that pass rush, Tampa's going to dictate the whole game. Plus, you have Tampa's physical style.
Gus Edwards running hard.
Exactly, that dominant ground effort. So the real challenge for Philly, the key nugget here, it boils down to third downs. Can Philly's defense force Tampa into third and long? Make them predictable.
Okay.
Because if Tampa can just pound the ball with Edwards, convert those third and shorts, well, they just repeat the formula that beat Philly back in Vegas. And this game could get out of hand fast.
That front 7 really does dictate everything, doesn't it?
It really does. And speaking of defensive impact, let's look at another 1-1 matchup. New Jersey heading to Memphis. Similar story, defensive dominance, but with a different kind of offensive headache.
Right. Memphis's defense basically won them the game last week.
Yeah.
That pick six by Brian Alexander. Huge play.
Yeah.
Game changer.
Pure opportunism. Just jump the route.
And then on offense, you've got that Lamar Jackson-Josh Jacobs combo. It's just so tough to prepare for. Jackson, solid passing numbers, but adds, nearly 40 yards rushing?
Yeah.
And Jacobs running for almost 90 in a score.
Yeah, and the problem for the New Jersey Hitmen is handling that versatility. The sources point out they haven't really faced a true dual-threat QB like Lamar yet this season.
Good point.
But the flip side, the issue highlighted for New Jersey in the analysis, it's their red zone execution, or lack thereof. Justin Herbert, he was efficient between the 20s, you know?
Huh?
20 of 28, over 200 yards, but 0 touchdowns. They moved the ball okay, then just stalled out. And Mixon couldn't punch it in either, just 34 yards on 14 carries.
Ah, the classic settle for 3 disease.
Yeah.
That kills you.
It really does. And hey, if you're watching this game, keep an eye on one specific player. New Jersey's tight end, Isaiah Likely. The sources suggest he could be the guy to exploit Memphis's linebackers, especially in zone coverage if they're maybe dedicating too much attention to containing Lamar scrambling outside. Yeah. That's sort of the tactical chess match to watch there.
All right, let's shift gears to the desert. 2 undefeated teams. 2 do Chicago and 2 in Arizona. This feels like it could be the game of the week.
High potential, definitely.
And Chicago's offense is just on fire right now. Baker Mayfield, Amon-Ra St. Brown, they are, as the kids say, cooking.
Ha, yeah.
10 catches, 195 yards, 2 scores for St. Brown last week, including that insane 83-yard bomb. Plus, they've got balance.
Yeah.
Jahmyr Gibbs went for 112 yards on just 14 carries.
That's rolling. But Arizona,
They're
their counterpoint, right. They represent that veteran poise, efficiency. Aaron Rodgers is just managing the game perfectly. 18 of 28, crucially, no turnovers. And Trey McBride, the tight end, he's that safety valve. 6 catches, 53 yards. Reliable hands.
Okay, but hang on. Chicago hits an 83-yard touchdown. Doesn't that kind of speed, that explosiveness, doesn't that threaten Arizona's whole veteran efficiency thing? Like one big play? And
that's the whole game right there. That's the conflict. Why the sources are focusing so much on patience versus explosiveness. Chicago wants the quick strike. Arizona wants to slowly suffocate you.
Right.
And the key for Arizona isn't just Rodgers being careful. It's also their kicker, Eddie Pinheiro. His reliability, 4 field goals last week, including the game winner. It lets them play a bit more conservatively on offense. They know they just need to get inside the 35 to likely get points.
Gotcha. So the kicking game enables the strategy.
Totally. So the critical matchup becomes, can Mayfield stay patient against that Arizona secondary? They will disguise coverages, try to bait him. Remember, he threw 2 picks last week, even in a win.
Good point. He can get loose with the ball sometimes.
He can. So if Arizona's front can limit Gibbs, make Chicago one-dimensional, force Mayfield into obvious passing situations, they'd probably win by making him uncomfortable and leaning on Pinheiro.
Fascinating matchup. Okay, let's move to Baltimore at Atlanta. Another 1-1 clash. Baltimore showed incredible heart last week, down 17-6 early in the 4th.
Yeah, it looked like they were done.
And then, boom, come back to win 18-17. Matthew Stafford leads this brilliant 10-play, 55-yard drive, game-winning touchdown pass with just 26 seconds left. That's surgical, veteran poise defined.
It really is, and that poise stands in such sharp contrast to Atlanta's problems, which, reading the analysis, were almost entirely self-inflicted.
How so?
Atlanta played well enough to win, statistically. Joe Burrow looked sharp, 287 yards, 2 TDs, hitting Samuel Olave for big plays. But they just kept shooting themselves in the foot. 2 missed field goals, 2 failed 2-point conversions.
Ouch. Leaving points on the board.
Literally leaving points on the board, special teams mistakes, penalties at bad times. It just killed their momentum and ultimately cost them the game.
So you've got Stafford's clutch execution versus Burrow's ability to spread it around. But the whole thing might just hinge on whether Atlanta can clean up those special teams miscues and mental errors.
Yeah, it feels like a game that could turn on 1 or 2 plays like that, a very tight margin.
Which kind of brings us nicely to St. Louis at LA. This one feels like near-perfect execution versus, well, haunting errors.
Couldn't phrase it better. St. Louis under Tua Tagovailoa. Man, they've been surgical. He went 27 of 33 last week. That's 81% completion. 3 touchdowns.
Wow.
And their red zone offense. Perfect. 4 trips inside the 20, 4 scores. Devonta Smith was huge, too. 8 grabs, 112 yards, 2 of those scores.
4 for 4 in the red zone. That's just lethal efficiency. You win games like that.
You absolutely do. Now, contrast that with LA. The talent is there, no question. Dak Prescott threw for 285, 2 TDs to Garrett Wilson. They looked good.
Well, they're 0-2, so what happened?
They had 2 absolutely crushing late fumbles in the final 5 minutes, cost them the game. They were leading by 11 points in the 4th quarter.
No way. Up 11 in the 4th and lose.
Yeah. It's like They play like champions for 55 minutes, and then the last 5, like you said, is just haunting errors. It's like they completely forget how to hold onto the football. That lack of finishing, those mental mistakes, that's why they're 0-2.
Yeah, you just can't give games away like that in this league. Someone will take it.
The bottom line, the key takeaway from the sources is simple. LA has to protect the ball, period. St. Louis has an aggressive defense, especially those linebackers flying around. They will test Dak's decision-making. They'll bring pressure. If LA gets sloppy again, the Battlehawks are built to capitalize instantly.
Okay, let's pivot to teams feeling the heat. Desperation mode. Pittsburgh, sitting at 0-2, travels to Denver, and Denver looked, well, sensational last week.
Yeah, they really put it all together.
Geno Smith threw 5 touchdown passes. 5. And maybe just as impressive, wasn't sacked once.
0 sacks. That's clean living for a QB.
Right. They played totally complimentary football, too. Controlled the ball for over 36 minutes. Mike Evans looked reborn with Geno. 154 yards and a couple of deep scores. Just clicking.
And that success in Denver just throws the catastrophe in Pittsburgh into even sharper relief. The Maulers' offensive line, my goodness, they allowed 8 sacks last week.
8 sacks.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is amazing, but nobody can survive that. That's not just pressure. That's a jailbreak on every snap.
It's a complete system failure, a surrender, like you said. Now, Zay Flowers was maybe the one bright spot for them. 10 catches, 130 yards. He looked good.
Okay, something positive at least.
Yeah, but the formula for Pittsburgh this week is painfully simple and pretty desperate. They have to keep Mahomes upright. Quicker reads, max protection, chip blocks, whatever it takes, because Denver's DE, Jonathan Greenard, he had 2 sacks last week. He could absolutely wreck this game against that fragile line. Pittsburgh could be in for a very, very long afternoon if they don't fix that protection immediately.
Feels like a huge mismatch on paper there. All right, next up, a real clash of styles. New York at San Antonio.
Polar opposites, this one.
Yeah, New York's identity seems to be all about tempo, quick passes. Bryce Young threw for 321 yards, 3 TDs last week. Khalil Shakir is really stepping up as their go-to receiver. But the glaring weaknesses, according to the sources, that offensive line is shaky, and the run game is, well, basically non-existent. They got around 40 yards rushing total last week.
40 yards, yeah, you can't rely on that. And San Antonio is the complete opposite. Their identity is pure physicality, methodical, grinded out football.
Right. Kyron Williams just dominated last week. 3 touchdowns, 109 yards.
And look at the time of possession. San Antonio held the ball for over 40 minutes.
40 minutes. Wow.
When you control the clock like that, the other team barely gets a chance. You just wear them down.
So the million-dollar question here is, which team dictates the pace?
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
That's the whole game. If San Antonio can establish that run game early, control the clock, grind New York down, they negate that shaky O-line issue for New York because New York's offense won't even be on the field.
Yeah.
But if New York can hit some quick strikes early, get Shakir involved vertically, stretch the field before San Antonio settles in, they might be able to neutralize that clock control game. It's all about who imposes their will first.
Okay, last game on our list, the 0-2 Cleveland Gladiators heading into Vegas to face the undefeated two-go-out Outlaws. And based on the source material,
this looks like a potential nightmare matchup for Cleveland.
It really does. Las Vegas looks like the real deal right now. Jalen Hurts, it's incredible. 295 total yards last week, 2 rushing TDs, and Jonathan Taylor adds 103 yards on the ground. It's thunder and lightning back there.
Yeah, and they lean into it. They ran the ball 40 times last week, held the ball for 38 minutes. They just want to own the line of scrimmage and impose their will.
And Cleveland's biggest problem, fundamentally, according to every report, they cannot stop the run.
Oh, boy.
They're giving up huge chunks on the ground, just letting teams grind them down. Remember last week, Kyron Williams, J.K. Dobbins, they ran all over them, especially in overtime. So, arguably the league's worst run defense facing maybe the league's most committed running team. That sounds problematic.
It's the whole story. The entire battle hinges on Cleveland's defensive front seven versus that Vegas run game. If Cleveland can't figure out how to slow down Taylor and contain Hurts on those zone reads, the Outlaws are just going to bleed the clock and control everything.
So what's Cleveland's path to even staying competitive then?
Explosive plays. They have to generate big plays on offense, probably through the air. They can't afford to just methodically dink and dunk down the field because Vegas's linebackers are fast, they rally to the ball, they specialize in shutting down short stuff. Cleveland needs chunk yardage, and they need it early just to stay in the fight.
One last matchup quickly. D.C. at Birmingham, both 1-1. DC got humbled pretty badly in Denver last week.
Yeah, giving up those 5 TD passes, nearly 460 total yards, not good. Their front 7 just couldn't get pressure on Geno Smith. CJ Stroud needs better protection and a better defensive effort this week.
And Birmingham, they moved the ball pretty well last week. Bo Nix completed almost 70% of his passes. They ran for over 130 yards. But
they stalled out in the red zone, settled for 3 field goals instead of touchdowns. And this is with weapons like Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. You got to punch those in.
So the mission for Birmingham is simple. Finish drives.
Absolutely. Against a DC defense that's probably going to come out angry, looking to prove something after last week, Birmingham cannot afford to leave points on the table again. Field goals won't cut it. They need touchdowns. #tag outro.
Wow. Okay, that was a pretty comprehensive deep dive into the Week 3 sources. Stepping back a bit, the big themes, they feel really clear, don't they? You've got the dominance of those Tampa and Arizona defensive fronts.
Game changers.
The absolute crisis in pass protection for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, critical.
And just how much mental errors are defining outcomes, whether it's those killer late fumbles for LA or the special teams meltdowns in Atlanta.
And if you connect all those dots, all the specific stats and trends from the previews, Week 3 looks like it's going to be won and lost right there at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And through discipline.
Yeah.
The teams that seem set up for success are the ones controlling the run game, generating that interior pressure like Tampa, Vegas, maybe even Chicago's O-line holding up.
Yeah.
And we saw teams like Arizona win last week almost purely on defensive discipline and being opportunistic, right?
Yeah.
Reliable kicking, getting turnovers.
Right.
And often those are the real markers of a true contender, maybe more than just gaudy offensive stats sometimes.
That's a great point. We know Bryce Young has grit. We know Mahomes elite talent. But the source material really hammers home that regardless of who's under center, that O-line versus D-line battle, that's what dictates everything. Your offensive identity, your ability to execute, your ultimate success.
Which leads to maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on as you watch the games this weekend. Which of these teams with struggling lines, think Pittsburgh's O-line, New York's O-line, Cleveland's run defense, maybe even DC's pass protection, which one is going to be the first to actually figure it out this week to solve those fundamental protection or run-stopping issues?
Yeah.
Because the answer to that question, that's going to tell us pretty quickly who might actually belong in the contender conversation long-term and who's just falling deeper into that desperation hole.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
You've been listening to WFL Inside Access, brought to you by Royal Retros. Be sure to like and subscribe to the Replay Sports channel. Thanks for listening.